Check out the levels. How do we sound? Check. Microphone check. 1 2 1 2. Sounds a little hot. Let's bring that down a little bit. Okay. Okay. I see people are joining to watch the stream. Let me know how everything looks, how everything sounds. I have it playing back in my audio, so it sounds weird when I hear myself. It's interesting if I set the quality in YouTube, it doesn't look as good at 480p. But if you go down and set that quality, I mean, this works for me. Yeah, I guess it all depends upon your connection. Set the quality up to 720p 60. It looks a lot better in the stream, but that may be different for me than it would be for other people. I guess it would all depend upon your internet connection. Keys are working. I have that hotkey now working too. And do a little bit more with the stream here so I don't have to keep swapping between windows. Okay. I'll give it a few more minutes just for more people to filter in. How's everybody doing out there? It's nice here. Glad for the weather to be turning more in our favor. All right, we can get chatting now and ease into it, and then hopefully people will join and catch up fairly quickly. So, hello, everybody. I'm Matt Goins, obviously, with the WiscWeb team. Um, most people who are going to be watching this are aware of who I am, but I'm the trainer on the WiscWeb team. I do support, communications, content strategy, consultations, etc. Um, and the purpose of this is it is another one of those learn with Matt opportunities. So I'm trying to do these. I'm trying to start doing these a little more often to um, kind of do some uh, create some opportunities for one myself to increase my capacity to support some of these things that people want to do within WiscWeb and within the UW theme, and then subsequently to deliver some training, um, both on demand, which is why I'm live streaming this, but also these will be recorded so they can be viewed after the fact. And a number of people have reached out to me and asked about that too. They couldn't make this time this time slot for this particular training. This is recorded. It is put out onto our channel, our YouTube channel, and I will try to get these videos posted in the training section of the Whisk website proper, so that it can be accessed a little easier. So the purpose of today is I wanted to throw a little bit of time at tinkering around with data tables and subsequently creating some data charts. Data charts isn't something that I have done often within WiscWeb and within the wpDataTables plugin itself. So I figured let's all take a look at it together, kind of see where some of the pitfalls might be, and see if it's something that would be usable for folks, and then maybe ask a few questions, throw a little bit more data at it, and go from there. So let's see. That being said, let's see if I can do this right. Yep. Okay. Um, I was saying right before the stream started, I'm playing around with some hotkeys here to try and make it easier for myself to not have to do so much window swapping because I'm sharing my desktop. So, I'm still not comfortable with where those hotkeys are. So, forgive me as I tinker around with this process there. So, okay. Again, as always, if you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat there. I'll try and get to them. It's just me manning the chat today instead of when we do our lunch and learns, when I'll have Jenna, I'll have Phil hanging out in there as well. But since it's just me, I'll try to get to them as best I can while I'm looking over here at my main monitor for the activity here. So, wpDataTables. Most of you, I hope most of you are aware of what wpDataTables is. It is a plugin that we use within the WiscWeb service to create tabular, or to deliver tabular data based on either manually created tables or reading source data from things like Excel, things like Google Form. I'm not Google Forms. I'm sorry. Google Sheets, and then also, again, like I said, manually created tables. And there's a couple different ways to create uh, those types of tables within here. So to access the plugin or to activate the plugin, you would go to your plugin section. You would then click on it. I don't want to click on it because it'll take a little while to load all the plugins that I have access to as a global admin. And then you'll just activate the wpDataTables plugin. And then as an administrator, you would see the wpDataTables option right down here at the bottom of your left side menu there. So a couple of things here that you have to think about as we're leading into data tables itself and subsequently data charts is, where's your data going to come from? Are you going to manually create this data? Is it something that's small enough where you're just going to create a table on the fly to deliver that data? Is it something that is going to be static data? So you can put it into like an Excel spreadsheet, upload that spreadsheet, and then create a table based on that particular data source? Or is this going to be something that changes often? If it's something that changes often, or if it's a data source that you need to have multiple people um, accessing and updating, you might want to look at creating a table via Google Sheets, and then linking the table to the existing Google Sheet. Now, we're not going to go too far down the road of learning wpDataTables that we've done in the past, and I have some videos for that as well. And if you want to learn a little bit more about creating data tables proper, I'm more than happy to chat with anybody about that after the fact. But so those are the ways that you want to think about how do you want to get your data into this data table. So for my purposes, what I did was I went out there and I just grabbed a big spreadsheet of, I'm not really sure where it pulled from, but it was graduate data. It's not from campus graduate data, so when I'm doing this, don't think of this as UW-Madison graduate data. It's a source from somewhere that had like dated data samples that I grabbed there. But I wanted to try and find a data source that I think would be relevant to our campus at least, or to some of your needs out there. And so I just grabbed a graduate data spreadsheet, did a little bit of editing of it, put it into an Excel file, and I uploaded it to my media library. So now, once it's in my media library, I can go to data tables and I can create a data table based off of that source. So I'm just going to go create a table. And again, here are the various options. Now, one of the things that I did learn yesterday as I was tinkering around with this, kind of getting ready for today, is um, data charts can be created off of a manually created table, a linked existing data source table, and an imported data source table. You cannot create a data chart off of a table created from scratch. For whatever reason, that's not how it's going to work. So just be aware of that as you are going through this process. So for my purposes, I'm going to go ahead and create a table by importing the data from a data source. Click next. I need to find it, so I'm going to click browse. It goes to my media library. If I had it locally, I could just upload it this way. I've already uploaded it, so there it is. Click choose file. Click next. And so here are all of the various um, columns that are in this one. So you can kind of see this is just, it's a ton of data in here about just graduate stuff. And it's from, I think, what date was it? What's the last year that was in there? So this is from 2015 is where this data was pulled from. And again, not sure what the source was. I don't know if this was nationwide, if this was a specific campus or anything like that. I found it, grabbed it, I'm using it. Let's see. You can edit the various options here. So I think I'm going to turn this one to string because I think for just a year, it does not like this particular value there. You can move these around if you wanted to as well. You could reorder them if you wanted to, change the name, put a predefined value in there if you needed to, anything of that nature. And then let's give it a table name. So let's just call it graduate data sample 2015. And then let's create the table. So again, lots of data in here. So I'll go down and I will click create the table, open in standard editor. And the standard editor is like what it would look like when it lands on your page. So here's all of that information. So now I can look at sort of setting up this table a little bit more for my needs. So let's see here. Showing 1 to 10 of 45 entries. 45 entries isn't a lot, so what I can do is I can go to display up here at the very top, and I could set it to show all. And then save changes. Now it's showing all of them. There's a lot more that I would do with this table. I'm not going to go too far down the line because I'm actually not going to be displaying this table in particular, although maybe. I mean, you might want to. That's that's a thought process to have as you go through this. Let's see. So demographics. So total graduates. Let's see. Or I don't know if that's graduates or if that's total. I would say probably that's total students, total enrolled students in these various majors. All right. So what I'm going to do actually is I want it to I think it automatically defaults to this one here, but I want to make sure that every time this table loads, I want it to alphabetize based on the major. So you can individually edit the settings of a column by clicking on the gear icon, and then I'm going to go over to sort right here, and I want to sort this table by this column as soon as the table loads. So I'm going to click that checkbox right there. Ascending or descending, we'll leave it as ascending. Click save changes. Nothing significant should happen, but you know, you can kind of think about like, well, maybe you want it to load based on demographics. So maybe you want it to show, you know, from most popular or most populated, I should say, down to least populated, something like that. I'm going to go with alphabetical. That just works easier for me. Okay. So again, just kind of going across the thing, there's a lot of things in here where I was looking at it. I was like, okay, this is good data to grab because, you know, you can look at like ethnicity options. You can look at how many are masters, how many are going to be in. There's lots of different things here. Reason for not working is family. Lots of data, and you kind of think about the last year that we've all had, and the kind of data that we all are going to look at or need to look at in relation to work, student population, student activities, things of that nature. So that's why I kind of grabbed this one because I thought this one would be pretty relevant to some of the stuff that we've been going on or going through over the past year as well. So, okay. We have this. I'm going to go ahead and save any changes I've made to the table. So now I have my data table. First things first, when you are going to be working with data charts, is you have to have a source for that data chart, and that source has to be a WP data table. So even if you're not going to display the table at all, you still need to create the data table so that your chart has a source to work with. So now that I have the source created, I can scroll over here to the left and I can go down to wpDataCharts. So if I click on data charts, here are a couple that I have tinkered around with in my training environment, but I'm going to go ahead and click on add new in the upper right. So a couple things here. Give it a name. Let's just say graduate data. What was I tinkering around with this morning? Scatter chart. So, and again, you might need to change some of these names. So once you give it a name, there's a render engine. And these are the different types of charts that you can use to display the data. So if I click on Google Charts, here are the various types of charts that you can display. If I go to High Charts, again, more options now to see. And then the last one is just chart.js. So just some options here for you to play around with. I titled it as scatter chart, so let's go with this scatter plot chart right here. So I'll select that one, click next. Oops, scroll up. I have to pick the source, so graduate data sample right there, that's my source, so I will choose that one and then click next. Okay, so now I have to talk about what do I want in the chart itself. So you can see the minimum count of columns for this chart is 2. So I need at least 2 charts and 2 columns of data to make this chart work. So I'm going to go with demographics total. So I'll add that one. And then let's just go with their major. So we'll add those 2 to create our scatter chart. So the general idea, my brain is going to try and think through this, is I want to create a scatter chart where I have the plots on there that are the numbers, and those numbers will be plotted based on the major that they're in. I guess I will say I'm not really a data person. I'm not a data analyst. I don't deal with a lot of data on a regular basis. So please, please, please forgive me if I sound like I don't know what I'm talking about, because in some cases when it comes to data analytics, I don't know what I'm talking about. So I'm winging it to a certain extent. So, okay. So I have my 2 columns over here. I'm not going to worry about that. So let's go and click next, and it will give us a render of it. And so you can kind of see what it looks like. This is a pretty tight chart there, but you can kind of get the idea. It's responsive by default, so this is a good idea. Again, thinking about your audiences, we'll have students who might be looking at this, people who are on their mobile devices looking at this kind of stuff. So, all right. Let's see here. Enable grouping. No, don't need to worry about this. You can do some color changes. You can change radiuses, borders, things of that nature. Demographics dot total. I could just say, let's call it total. Total students. I guess I could say. Yeah. So now if I see, I go over that axes. Show the X crosshair. Oh, so you can kind of. Oh, that's kind of interesting. So you can kind of get a good idea of where you're at. I like that. That's not too bad. I don't like that it gives that X and that Y. The Y is important because the Y is what the total population is. I don't like that it does that. Okay, so let's see. Horizontal axis label. Major. Where'd that go? Vertical axis label. Total enrollment. Oh, there it is. Be nice if I could bold that. That doesn't really stand out. Well, let's see. Oh. Now you see again. This is why we tinker because sometimes you want to do something a little bit different. So as you can see, I did a little HTML on that access label, and right now it looks like it's working. um, let's try something a little bit different here. Let's try H2. Nope, that didn't work. All right. All right. So at least that stands out now a little bit more from the others. Okay. Minimum values, invert the axes. Nope, I'm not going to worry about that. The chart title, um, you could um, mess around with that a little bit. Oh, that's the subtitle line. Sorry, left, right. Okay, interesting. Oops, nope. I want it to be center. Um, think of some of the subtitles you might have to just kind of you know properly present the data, as it were. The tooltip. Show the tooltip. Hmm. So it's just the Y value that allows you to change that tooltip. I wish that I could change the X value to be nothing or to not be there. I still don't like that X value shows up there. Okay. Legend. Where is the legend? Oh, I get rid of that by clicking off there. The total students there. That's nice. I wanted to get rid of that, so that works there. Guess I could change it. Yeah. So if I wanted to show the legend again, I could say total students enrolled by major. Yeah, still. I mean, I guess you could. It would work if you had more of those columns in there. I don't need that though. Not when I'm looking at it like this. Again, just some of that stuff. Export. You can allow the export of the chart. So if you look at this little checkbox right here, it creates this little hamburger menu, and then you allow this to be exported. For some of you, that might be pretty relevant. That might be something where you want to make this data available for people to download, especially for those of you who deal with like um, various types of data that involve policies or annual report type things. That you might want these things to be available as downloadable type things there. File names, things of that nature. Credits. That's what shows up down here. So you could link to things if you wanted to. So like if you got your data from somewhere, you could edit that credit down here in the lower right. So okay. All right. So this looks fine. I'm okay with all of this. Um, I'm just trying to look it through if I missed anything. Okay. So let's save the chart. Chart's ready to go. Here's the shortcode for it. So now let's put it on a page. So I'm going to open up a new tab here with my pages there. So let's create a new page. Let's call it chart test page. Go on down here. So I can do a couple things here. I could have click on the little icon here to copy it. You also have this icon over here on your text editor bar where you can click on that to insert it on the fly. So if I click on that, the first one is a data table. The second one is a data chart. So I'll click on the data chart one, choose the one that I want, say okay. There it is. Let's publish this page. And let's view it. And there she goes. You can see her again. I don't know if this one will be the right one. Whoops. Mistype there on my part. I kind of wish that the tool tip would give the x axis title. So like if I moused over this, it would show agricultural economics, animal sciences. I wish that right there would say that value. But this is okay. I don't mind this. This isn't the worst thing in the world if I'm just trying to get some data out there for people to take a look at. So this is our scatter chart with just one set of data. All right. So let's go on back and let's go ahead and go to browse charts and let's keep playing around with that data. Let's see what else we can create. So let's go add new. Follow that one. Let's go graduate data. I don't know. Demographics. Guess we can take a look at that. I do like the high charts. The high charts seem to just be a little more, I don't know, visually appealing to me. Okay, so let's take a look here. So we're gonna do demographics. So let's give this donut chart a try here. Donuts. Next. Let's pick our data table, our graduate data sample there. Let's click next. Minimum of 2, so let's go. Let's go. Asian, minority, whites. There's lots of stuff in here to pull from. I guess we'll just go with those three because we're just kind of doing demographics. Let's grab gender as well. Um, Again, this is from 2015, so another column that would be, I think, relevant in here would again be non-binary and other, like trying to make sure that you get the whole spectrum of what, and even if they chose none or chose not to answer, I think it would be relevant data. I think that would be relevant data to have for your purpose of just how are you asking the questions and that kind of thing there. So again, something to think about as I'm looking at this data. Okay, so I've got those selected. I will pick up those. Oh, maximum count for this chart type is 2. Oh. All right, so let's get rid of the. Ooh, do that. So let's. How about we just do this by gender then? Go back down here. Oh, weird. Okay. Um, select all, deselect all. Okay. Uh, let's do male and female. Let's do this by gender. So let's add. Let's click next. That seemed odd to me. What are these slices though? Hmm. Might not do what I want it to do. Is that slight? I mean, I'm guessing these have something to do with the other columns in the table. I don't like that. Let's go back. Previous, let's choose a different table or a different chart. Okay. Maybe we'll just try a straight up pie chart. Let's see what that'll get us. Graduate data sample. Select all. Remove those. Minimum count is 2. So let's to the top here. Let's try this again for select all, deselect all. Minorities, what? So if we're looking at this again from a demographic standpoint, the maximum. Again, that's kind of weird to me that the maximum is 2. Want something that I can show more than just 2. It's really weird. Again, not a data guy, so I'm not sure what I'm missing on this, so I apologize. All right, well, let's just go with this. Let's go back to male, female, add it. Next. Yeah. So there'd have to be some manipulation of the data there to try and get it to work right there. All right, so let's get away from the donut charts. No donuts today. What else could we try? Any recommendations or suggestions from the crowd? Hmm. Google Charts. Anything in there worth taking a peek? I'm afraid of picking something and it still not working for like um, um, the weirdness with the columns not working right. How easy is it to update the data when things change? So that's the issue that comes into where um, what type of data are you using? Are you using static data that's not going to change, or are you going to be using data that will be changing? So that's where the source comes into play. Um, if it's data that's going to change on a regular basis, I would want to test that out, and maybe I can. I don't know if I have some good data to test out real quick with like a Google chart. um, uh, kind of thing. Um, but like, how would it look when it's reading from a data chart or from a Google sheet, where that data can be changed on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and then when you come back, essentially and ideally, if I am so let's think about this process from start to finish. I create a Google sheet that has data in it. That data can exist, can be updated anytime, regular basis. From that Google Sheet, I come to data table, and then I create a WP data table based on that Google Sheet. And so now that data table is essentially live data. It will update somewhat simultaneously with when you update the Google Sheet. So now my regularly updating WP data table is created. I would create a data chart off of that particular live data. The chart itself should update on a regular basis based on the data that it's pulling from in that particular WP data table. Now, that's my theory. I haven't tested it yet, so maybe we'll try and take a swing at that. Claire, the pie chart wasn't working. It was giving too many weird slices. So I don't. I just think I have too much data for that type of, or not the right kind of data for that type of chart. So stacked area chart. Let's try that one. Next. Let's deselect all. Let's select all. Let's get those off of there. Um, okay. Oh, apologies. I have a dog in the background. Um, so let's grab. I guess let's try it. Let's select all, deselect all. Let's grab ethnicity, ethnicity, ethnicity. Add. Okay, so it was okay with those. All right, let's go down. Let's grab gender, gender. Grab those two as well. Okay, so that one. Okay, all right. So there we go. All right. So sorry, close it. Okay. Apologies. All right. So we've got the title. To do a subtitle there. Uh, chart enable grouping. I don't know if I wanted to worry about that. The series. Oh, I can change um the labels on the fly here. So let's you can do uh, minority, uh, late, female, male. Wonder why I didn't do that. Oh, so Felipe, you tested it out on your own. Yeah. So, um, in the chat, Felipe is talking about he tested one with live data, and it updated after about a minute. And again, you got to think about the internet. Where is it starting? It's got to go through to the data table. It's got to go through from the data table over to the data chart. So that's good to see. Um, so let's see. Panning. Where did I see? All right, so I've got the panning on. I wonder if that would be in relation to that. And so let's do 1080. We'll test that out. We'll test out what we got here. I really, again, the data is not perfect. And again, were I more of a data person, I would set this data up so much, chart friendly. But um, hopefully, at least the process itself is making sense. But again, I'm guessing these are the various majors, and then That's where's the point that x-axis from? Wonder if the panning would work on page. All right, well, it's there. Let's give her a save. Let's copy that. Let's go back to our chart test page. And let's put that in there. Let's click update. For that to go, let's refresh you. Well, it's there. Data end there. Let's Hmm. Oh, that's interesting. You can zoom in. Huh. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out the panning part. But I don't know if that's going to work right. But there's the zoom. So I put the zoom type on the X axis, and obviously you can see that that's how that's doing. And a button does appear that allows you to reset the zoom. Let's set this back to responsive there. Um, yeah, I was wondering about that too. I'll give that a shot here in a second. So I've got panning on. Oh, duh, it's right there because you can read. Sorry about that. Obviously, you can see that. Okay, so let's set this back and let's go. So the zoom is there. Let's set this back to 800. Um, control. Let's set it to control there real quick. Zooms on the X. XY look like? Oh, because you can really zoom in there. Okay. Anyways, let's save it. It's ready. Let's do a hard refresh here. Yeah, but oh, yep. So let me reset that zoom real quick, Alex. All right, so um, I'm gonna zoom in right there. So it zoomed in on my data, and then if I hold down the control key, now I can pan it like that. So I'm holding down. I set it to my control key. So now I'm at the end, back over this way. That's interesting. That is interesting. All right, so we've got that one. Let's save that chart again just to make sure. Let's go back to our charts. Let's poke around with another one here. So let's click Add New again. Um, graduate, that stuff. Let's take a look at all the various data that we have. Um, and I'm trying to think of what for the data that I have. I thought I was getting a good set of data for the purpose of today, but it hasn't worked out quite how I wanted it to. I wonder what this polar area chart, if that would have some significance. Minimum count of 2. So I'm going to select those 3, move them over. Maximum count. Yeah. Okay. Select all, remove. That's kind of a bummer that it's only 2. Oops. Deselect all. Let's get rid of my demographic ones, even though I really wanted to putz around with those. Okay. Demographics tool as you measure. Click next. That's. I don't think that's going to work, folks. Okay. So that was the polar area chart, and that really didn't do much. Um, all right, let's take a look at the high charts again. Let's see. Spiderweb chart, maybe? Oh, that's interesting. This one's interesting. The labels are a little too long, but the content delivery is interesting. I wish you could separate those colors out a little bit more to make it stand out a little bit. Sire. Tight. Oh, column. You could do a column. That's again, you're gonna have to probably play around with this a little bit to find the right. That's kind of neat. Find the right fit. Let's go previous. Let's try. Let's get rid of that one. Now let's try. Nope. Select all. Deselect all. You can kind of see how this can get a little frustrating playing around with some of this data. Okay, so we already is. Let's get those over there. For sake. There we go. Let's do next. Yeah, it's just I mean, it's an interesting. This is an interesting chart, but this is the right chart for this type of thing. Let's go back and let's choose something different. Let's go with I will say, since Alex is in the chat there, one of the things that we have found, we ran into as you see me picking through these different ones. I think if you have a site that has some significant customization to it, we have run into an issue with some of these charts not rendering at all, which is why you'll see I had the two sustainability charts. I was doing some testing for the sustainability site. For some reason, we can't get, I believe it's the high chart. I can't get the high chart to render on their custom theme. So if you run into any issues with your charts not displaying at all, drop me a line so that we can start to take a look at it. It's just something we have to troubleshoot because it's code stuff, and we just have to take a look at what's going on in the background for that. So let's see here. Let's go back to high charts. Now let's go back to this one. Let's try this bubble chart here. So next, the data sample maximum count is 4. So select all, deselect all. So let's get rid of the gender question. And let's just do major and ethnicity. So let's go next. Dang it. Too much data in there for it to render that way. All right, let's try like a line chart or something like that. Ooh, a lot of stuff. Let's go down to the bottom. Previous. Let's go back to high charts. Try a stacked area chart. Basic area chart. Basic, maybe it'll work. Next. All right, so same idea. It's just giving you some plot points there. Defaulted to some color. Stand out a little bit more. So we'll go red. Let's go green. And then let's go. Let's try to get yellow in there. Oh, there it is right there. Let's get yellow there for. So again, that's the series there. Again, zoom. I like that zoom feature. I was actually happy you asked that question because I would not have thought about that there. Okay. So let's see. Again, let's just play around with some of these other things. So you can change the background color if you wanted to. Obviously, you can kind of see, and obviously you have to watch out for that because um, accessibility of that there. You could put a border around it if you wanted to. So if I wanted to, whoops, that's the opacity. Let's set our border to black there, so we'll save there. You can round the edges of that border. Oh, this one only. Oh, saw me go a little bit too fast there. But again, you can see you round the border there. Plot background color. Oh, so you can change that if you so desire. Oh, don't mind me. Let's see how ridiculous we can make this thing. So let's take a look at this guy. There's the file. Copy URL to clipboard. Background image. It squished it quite a bit, obviously, as you can see. Pull a customization there. Plot border width. And you can choose a plot border color. So let's save that chart. And as crazy as I made it. Okay, so let's at this page, let's update. And let's refresh. Show you. Oh, there you go. So you can background does not move. A little weird there when I'm panning. So here you go. So you can kind of see this is some interesting use of charts as well with like the background and like the chart. You can kind of see what to do with some of this. Reset zoom. That's interesting. So, and again, part of this too is, do you want to use the chart with the table? I could always display the table underneath. I'm not going to display this table because it's massive. Um, but that's another interesting thing to think about with tables is if you have um, a monstrous table with just row upon row of information, I might have the full one here, but then I might duplicate it. So I might click on duplicate, and then I might say, 2015 reduced columns, something like that. And then I'll click duplicate. And then what I can do is I can edit this one specifically. And if you click on column list, there's this little eyeball icon in here. And now what you can do is you can go through and you can actually like remove things from it. So this is tedious, but maybe I want to go through, click all of this stuff off. Thought I was picking a good data set, and then all of a sudden I realized a little bit cumbersome to do some of these things that I want to show you. So so let's see, year, demographics total. I could change that for I don't want to show that one. And so then major, and then I had the ethnicities, right? Yeah. So those are the ones that I want to show. So I'll click save. And so now we're just down to those specific columns. The data is all there still. It's all still there. I haven't deleted any data, nothing. All I've done is I've just changed the view. And so now what I can do is I can click save changes. And so now since this is the one that is specific for this page, I could put in a little horizontal line there, and now I could insert that specific data table. And there's the data down below. And so now I have the data itself along with a chart to represent that data. So information and visual for it. And again, depending upon your table size, you might like depending on how big the table, I'm sorry, the chart is versus how wide the table is. You might throw these into like a two column layout so that they're right next to each other instead of top and bottom. Um, yeah. The one thing that I would say to avoid doing, and I beg of you, please don't do this, is, and I did this way, way back in the day, and now that I am older and wiser, don't like create a data chart in Excel, take a screenshot of that, and put that up on your page unless you have actually put in some text to represent the data that's being displayed. Because an image with that kind of information on it isn't accessible by itself. You have to have data or you have to have information on the page to actually represent the data that you're displaying visually as well. So this is because this has created essentially text labels for it. So these labels all exist in the background. So this becomes an accessible functionality. So, um, yeah. So, anyways, like I said, I just wanted to throw something together quick, just to kind of look at data charts together, learn a little bit about how they can be used, and that's basically it. We have a couple minutes left in the time frame. Any questions specifically that I can answer? I know some questions will be like, "Can you try this?" And I'll be like, "Let's talk about that later." But anyways, I just wanted to show you guys how to do it, what to think about as you're building it, how to throw it on a page, and then we played around with some of the other like customizations of it. So like adding a background image, that's pretty interesting. Make sure that when you add in a background image, you're not breaking anything with like accessibility or anything like that. But like if you wanted to put like your department logo in the background of a chart, or you found a nice image of campus that you wanted to throw into the background of a chart or something like that. You think about sustainability with that chart specifically. There's lots of images that you could throw into the background of a chart to really make it seem a little more appealing. The other thing to note there is the image is going to go in as it is, so you might want to think about editing that image in Photoshop to make it a little more opaque. Sorry, to make it a little more transparent, so that it doesn't cause any transparent. Sorry, not transparent. Accessibility issues with the chart itself to be able to see it. Okay. Any questions? Anything you guys want to ask before we call it a session? I will wait patiently. This is good radio. Yeah, my pleasure. Like I said, these things are really about me learning too, like me throwing things at the wall and seeing what works. So I don't mind learning together, and I don't mind being wrong. So, um, and again, everybody knows how to get in touch with me. If you have any questions, drop me an email. More than happy to set up a one-on-one session to kind of throw some more stuff at this if you have some questions. Otherwise, okay, we'll call it there. Thank you all for tuning in. I'll throw this video up onto the training page when I get a chance to edit it down. But otherwise, we'll go from there, and hopefully everybody has a good weekend. Weather looks nice, so we'll go from there. Thanks everybody, and take care.